Good day everybody and welcome to the channel today. So we were planning to do a charging video and that's I've done it in sense, but today we will go much more in detail, and I've got Andre with me that also has starting to experience what people say. And I mean, he's got his own friends that basically saying, okay, but hold on, where do we charge, why do we drive electric? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of scenarios, and I think I do not think that the reason why you're not purchasing electric cars because of the charging. I do think that's especially old news overseas. Like, we will put some photos up for you guys just to give you an idea what's going on. But if we look at us here in South Africa with about 400 charging stations, and we look at the United States, and we look at the UK, we look at Europe, well, the United States is next level. Obviously, Tesla chargers, and it's explosion. Like, I would say you're looking now more or less the same amount of charges, or petrol stations. You get the same amount of charges. So exactly the same with the UK. I mean, they have exploded exponentially. Like, it's from where there were 1,000 charges, they went all the way up to 70,000 charges.
Wow.
It is absolutely crazy. So I really do not think range anxiety is an issue everywhere else, and everywhere. And I think even China as well. It's really, if you compare them to us, we are very behind with charging stations. But interesting enough, I think that's where all the politics is starting.
Yeah.
Okay, but hold on now. You say we are behind, but what do I need to do? I really want to drive electric. It's much easier to fix. It's much easier on the environment. It just makes life so much better. Andre here had experienced the electric car. It's so much more of a comfortable drive. I really want to drive electric. What do I do? I think the first thing that is the most important is you that experience it as well with me, and how I charge and so forth. I will go into more detail with the way I charge,
Yeah.
and then how everybody else is probably looking at it. But I think you've got your experience, and maybe we can tell the guys that what you've experienced so far. But on the end of the day, if it comes to charging, let's look at it from point of view from a house perspective. So I think everybody that normally that's got that capital, and that's got that can put that value into a car, normally has got a house, right?
Yeah.
So we all use air cons, and we all use electricity in other ways. And I can tell you now, your air con, and I constantly say this all the time, your air con and your stoves and so forth will probably take more than what you actually will use in an electric car. So this whole thing about 8 hours of charging and 10 hours of charging and so forth, it's not true. It's really not true. And I think you also experience
Yeah,
that a lot.
yeah.
You got one girlfriend that asks you, what's the normal questions that you normally get?
Where do you charge? And also, what if it's load shedding? Like,
Yes.
many people in South Africa is like, the question is, what about load shedding? If there's load shedding, I will not be able to charge my car. But think outside of a box.
But even though load shedding is there, they still cope. It's interesting. So my experience, I was driving a much smaller capacity. So I was driving a 22 kilowatt back car. So that was one of the first BMWs that came out, the i3s, and I mean that's really taking the test to its max. So then it's like, okay, so I had about 150 to 135 kilos per day, and everybody was like, what, where, how do you actually cope, what do you actually do? And interesting enough, I had quite a busy time with work and everything. So I went to Pretoria, and then I charged at the dealership, and my sort of my break that I would have taken, my half an hour or my 40 minutes or so, I will sometimes, but that was a very small pack. So I mean that you can understand. That's seen as the first generation of higher higher kilometer vehicles. So I didn't have an issue. I didn't have an issue. And interesting enough, load shedding was at that time also extremely bad. So worst case scenario, if we've got load shedding, and I think this is how people should think about it. If you have load shedding, it will be very strange for the whole of Johannesburg to be off at the same time.
Yes.
You will definitely be having a public charging station that you can go to and spend 20 minutes or so.
Yes.
No, you don't sit there for 2 hours, and no, you don't sit there for even 45 minutes. People that sits there for that time is, number one, do not understand how the car is charging, I think, first of all, and secondly, they're working out their kilometers wrong. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they would do that. I would rather, if it's really a case where there's 2 weeks without power in that specific area, I will do the public charging station, but I will definitely not sit that long. You know what I mean? But you work it in with your life. You know what I mean? Like, instead of, most of the time, it's shopping areas. So Eastgate has got, and not very far from Bedford View, you have your charging station. So it's most of the time is at shopping distance. So all that you do is, if you have a problem in the area, that charges normally works. There is times where they are off, but then you will get a charging station somewhere. You will get a charging station. Then you know, okay, well, that area has got doesn't have load shedding for that time, and sort it. It shouldn't be a reason why not to buy an electric car. And I think Andre here and them is staying in a complex situation. So that's a different story. That is where you need to go to the landlord. That's where you need to go to the trustees. But all of that, even so, can probably be arranged. If you need to get a cable installed, and I'm not talking about getting a cable installed for municipality, I'm talking about getting it sorted with what currently all houses. I think this is where the people get it very confused. It's all houses has got a 62 amp capability. I charge at 32 amps only at night. Okay? That's when you normally charge. That's the best rates normally, depending where you stay. If you get special rates. If you don't get special rates, then obviously you will, you'll pay normal price. But even so, you shouldn't have an issue, and you do not charge for 8 hours a day. You definitely do not charge. If you've got a 7.5 kilowatt or 7.4 kilowatt charger, then at max you will charge 2 hours.
Wow.
And then that's obviously now driving 14 kilowatts in the city, and I mean that I would say is that's a bit highway, like on the ring road of Johannesburg, and a little bit driving around. You know, I was having a business day where it was busy, so we were just driving out for business, and I had 50%. Okay, and I was actually driving. I think it was to you, and then I needed to still do. I was still needed. Oh no, that was not you. That was when I was actually doing a pickup out in Roodepoort, and I stay on the East Rand. That's West Rand. So that just shows you the distance, how long I've done. So we are talking about 60 kilos. Then we talk about 60 back. When I finished my day with all the driving, it was to Roodepoort, then it was back to Boksburg, driving around Boksburg, then it was Benoni, coming back to, I would say is almost like a delivery, that was like a delivery person's range, I would say. Yeah. So then I was driving a good 200 kilos. Wow. And kilometers, and awesome. I mean, did I have any issue? No, so I came home and I had 66 kilometers available.
Wow.
Still to drive. It's 12%.
Wow.
So I think that's the biggest thing. People have this range anxiety, and number one, I think the best thing is to do to live with electric car, experience it all. I'm more of the challenge type of guy, so I really challenge it in a sense. I do think that you need to get to the 5 and the 10% on the car, so you can get, so you know what it's all about. You must also keep in mind, if a car is zero, it's actually not zero.
Yeah.
Then all it does, it just slows down the car to a certain speed, and then you still have the
20. You still basically have 20% of battery still left.
still 20%, or worst case, depending what the situation is, winter or there's various factors that factors into electric car, but you should have about 15 kilometers that you can cover with getting to a charging station. I'm not saying that people should leave their cars on 20%. I do increment charging, so I do not charge ever to 100%. I will only charge to 100% if I'm doing a very long road trip. Then it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I'm not. I think that the whole thing is about ruthless. If you sit at 50%, and that's exactly that day that was happening. So at about showing me on the car about 260 kilometers. I had a wonderful day. I could have, if I wanted to, stop 10 minutes somewhere.
Yes.
Not 45 minutes. Not look for 100 kilowatt or 150. We've got them in South Africa. We've got them. And even worst case scenario, if you need to sit at the 60 kilowatt charger, no problem. You'll probably just sit it's an extra 10 minutes. But that's more or less the time for a coffee and a snack for the day.
Yes.
So you will just basically take your lunch as you would normally do. I don't know if you don't take lunch, then I mean, at least you're doing other things. You know, maybe do a bit of shopping, or you go out a little bit of office, or you arrange to work to get charged at work.
Yeah. And also, where you mentioned some people charging a whole night. So many people don't charge their phones a whole night, because obviously when you charge your phone throughout the whole night, it damages your battery.
Yes.
And it degrades your battery life, because that you don't charge your phone during the whole night. The same goes with your car. You do not charge your car throughout the whole night, otherwise it will damage the car's battery pack.
Exactly, and if you're really concerned, and if you do suffer from range anxiety, then on any of the kilometers shown, you can trust that. I have tested it. Promise you, with the EX30 is actually very good. The software on there is doing a great job. I've tested it now properly. I was calculating my busy day. It was a busy day, so it was all over Johannesburg, and then basically I stopped with exactly the amount the car was saying out to be. So it was working it out very well. I only think where it gets to a situation is that, and interesting enough, I was speeding, so I was driving definitely a little bit higher than the speed, the road speed, because there was times where I was quite in a hurry, because I was actually finishing my day quite late, where I was doing my pickup here in Rupert, and absolutely no concern whatsoever.
But also, let's look now at the range test from Joburg to Durban, our YouTube video.
Yes.
There you could also you could have tested that out, and we did.
Yes.
We did test that out.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
at some charging stations, the battery was 19%.
Yes.
And we still had over 200 kilometers.
Yes.
Still left.
And then normally with a petrol car, what you will do is you will well, obviously it will do you a stop, and I know a lot of people say drive straight through. I don't know who does that, but anyway, even so, with how it worked out is that we still had energy when we stopped. It was so well calculated with the maps that we actually still had energy. We still could have driven another 100 or so kilometers in Durban. And normally what happens in Durban is that you normally will need to fill up with a petrol car in Durban. And that was not the case with Durban at all. And worst case scenario, let's look at I think a lot of people do not understand it. It's very new to us in South Africa. I think it's very well known in the United States and the UK now, and people getting used to it. But if you do get to a charger and someone is sitting on the charger, a lot of the times what's happening is that people sit on the chargers meanwhile they are done charging.
Yes.
So what normally happens is if that's the case, if it's a grid car charger, you should be able to call in, and then what they do is they contact the driver. They got all the details. That's a wonderful thing. They will never get that with a pump. Never. They got all the details. They can disconnect the car. The call center can disconnect the car, and if you got a long enough cable, if you want to do a 22 kilowatt charging, if you want to do that volume of charging, then you can opt for that one. If opt in for that, or otherwise they will call the gentleman just to wherever that one is in the shopping mall. It will ask the guy, if you don't mind, if you can just take your car as soon as you finish charging. I just need to go somewhere, a little bit of a long trip. So if you don't mind, can I jump on the charger? Simple. That's just the, so there's always a solution. Just don't get frustrated and think now I'm stuck. You shouldn't be stuck. You shouldn't be stuck. The only place where you probably would be stuck is if and I think a lot of the Americans is finding that issue. It will say that it's active, and when they do arrive at the station, it's offline.
Yes.
Yeah, that's mostly software. So on the end of the day, you can. We here in South Africa's system is actually very, very good. I never experienced that here in South Africa.
Yeah.
So, but public charging stations is really something that you really not use. You do not use public charging stations. Really, funny enough, you don't need public charging stations. And public charging stations is really there only for a quick charge, on and off, and emergencies only.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about, I think people get it all wrong. This whole thing, and you heard it also, Andre, where people were saying, "Oh no, you charge the whole evening," and so much energy. People, on average, you do between 10 and 14 kilowatts a day. Uber drivers and delivery people, yes, I mean they will do probably a good 25 kilowatts per day. Remember, the Volvo EX30 is a 64 kilowatts. So once again, it's half. So you will not do 518 kilometers a day. You will not. Definitely not.
Yes.
And then also, if this is the case, let's look at, we'll put the pictures up for you guys to see. If there's someone that didn't check it out to see it, Woolworths will not invest in electric cars if that was the case.
Yes.
I've spoken to the drivers myself, and I asked them, are you by any way concerned about it? And they got less, they got 250 kilometers on the little vans. And look, it's expensive vans because that specific brand is a private entity that came into South Africa. And you always see them loading up, you never see them charging. For some reason, I don't know, I presume they use public charging stations. But interesting enough, the drivers were so calm. This one guy I asked, and he was actually so calm that I was thinking, I don't think he even knows that he's driving an electric car, but that's how he was. He was so chilled, he was like so relaxed. So because I was thinking, how do you cope with that range? And they probably got a public charging station, agreement or something, but no problem. They do their deliveries, and they are deliveries. So on the end of the day, they get it sorted.
Yeah. So even now, this morning, when you came to me, I saw that your battery is 19%,
Yeah.
and there is still over 100 kilometers range still left. So why the anxiety? Why range
And
anxiety?
I mean, I can understand these people. I mean, I know someone, you know, someone that
I think we both know some people, but especially
that he's got severe rage anxiety.
yeah, and who refuse completely to drive in an electric car because they think it's just a waste. And to be
They're
honest,
going to be
it's
stuck somewhere.
yeah, it's not a waste. And you know, like there comes back to my question: why do everybody want to blame everything on load shedding?
I think the biggest thing is if you're really concerned about load shedding, public charging stations, what am I going to do about where the public charging stations are? What if I'm stuck? This, that. You know what? Be my guest. Charge to 100% every day. If you want to, go for it. If it will help with your anxiety, if it will help. But I mean, you know, once you get used to it, it becomes very natural.
Yes. So I have a friend. Now she lives in a small town with no charging stations, and she's asking me every time, you cannot drive an electric car in a small town because there's no charging stations.
Meanwhile,
Your
there's
house, you have a house to live in. You have electricity in that house.
So
Obviously,
there's everywhere charging
there's
stations.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere where you go, there's a charging station.
Yes, exactly.
Whether it's at your friend's house, whether it's a public charging station, you will still be able to charge your car.
Yeah, so I think the small towns is exactly what happened when Tesla were first starting out. You must remember the infrastructure were not there; it was non-existent, and Tesla has proven. Hold on, we will get that sorted out. But it's not fair. It's not fair to compare the petrol station infrastructure to electric infrastructure. It's a completely different setup altogether. And look, it is expensive. It is expensive to run that cables. It's expensive to get the municipality. And on the end of the day, it's not the private entities that are having the issue. It's the most of the time it's government that's actually not releasing the permits to get it installed.
Yeah.
So they know on the end of the day that not to get into politics, but they know on the end of the day, you know, it's like we should get it done, but it never gets done. So from a private side, the people are ready. We are ready to invest in the stations, and also all of these things cost money on the end of the day. So that's why it's not everywhere, but our investment in South Africa is just different. But it's funny enough, we got much more now electric cars. We've got big BMWs driving. I've just seen in the last this year specifically this year, I've seen an explosion. I've seen much more cars, electric cars driving around. I'm not talking about big packs. I'm talking about 80 to 90 to 100 kilowatt packs.
Yes.
And no, you do not use, even those big cars, you do not use the 100 kilowatts in one day. That will be very strange.
Yeah.
I think that's where people get it wrong. But then still, Rufus, still 14, 15, 20 kilowatts is a lot. No, it's not a lot. Your aircon is probably using much more.
Yes.
You know,
Your stove.
The stove and the house in itself use more. And if you think about it, it's not. And then there's solar, and there is so many other opportunities. And now we are on a small mixed grid. So we are now solar, wind, and nuclear. So whatever you put in now into the car, I would say is about 20% roughly. I mean, the figures are very different because some is online, some is offline, and some things are still up and coming. But you should have at least 20% of what you're putting in the car should be fully solar. But it's or fully renewable. But the thing is also, I was having this conversation, and it was with two of my clients, and the first thing they were going on about is, where do you charge? And that's always the question that people do ask. Meanwhile, I was sitting in our house with electricity, with the sun shining, cooking us up there like crazy. So we were cooking there, and we got the roof cooking up, and everybody was like, it's hot. People still ask that strange question, and I mean, it's really strange. Meanwhile, we got so much sun and so much roof space that it's definitely not an issue.
Yes.
It's definitely not an issue.
And also, a lot of people also ask, if you though charge your car at your house, will it not trip the power?
Especially not in a 3.4. The 3.4 kilowatt is, let's put it this way, it's basically less than your stove. So if you put all 4 of your stoves on, plus minus, it's about 2 kilowatts or so less than a stove. Just to give you an example. So you can easily put on your stove and put on your, you can cook it up. You can put all 4 plates on, and
which most of the people are using 4 plates.
Yeah, 4 plates. That's, well, no, I would say depending. I think actually most people will normally use 3 plates, or even 2 plates, because they have prepared already food for the the night before,
yes,
and stuff like that. So on the end of the day, and you never cook. You anyway do not cook when the car is charging. I set my car to charge only between 11 and 5 o'clock in the day only, and then I set that time. Now I know what people is going to say, but Rufus, 11 to 5, that's a lot of hours. No, it's already it's set at the setting. So it's like you can't go past 50.
A limit.
It's a limit, so it's got a limit. So it's anyway by 12 o'clock, or let's say 1:45, it's already finished.
Yes.
Even though the period is set like that, but the limit, there's two things the limit will kick it out.
And you also don't go and look, like, let's say for instance every 30 minutes, you don't have to go and look to see at what percentage the car is already charged at, because there's a limit where you can, like, in the settings of the car, you can like set a limit to where you want to charge the car.
Exactly.
And if it's done charging, then it will stop charging the car.
Yes, even though you had a long period that you've set. You set it like that because that just in case there's a failure in between, and then on the end of the day it still needs to start at 3 o'clock again. It's fine. It will sort it out all by itself. I think if you're in a small town, number one, let's look at the small town scenario. I think the small town, you must also remember, you drive less.
Yes.
You drive much less,
yes,
than in the bigger cities. So the bigger cities is something different. But then once again, the bigger cities, you definitely sort it out with what do we call this, public charging stations. So I had a scenario where I went to Durban. It was a very fast delivery. I went twice to Durban. So that was the interesting one. Now that way people can understand. There is what we call these dead spots in cities. Especially, I've seen it now in Cape Town, and I've seen it in Durban. Central Durban and central Cape Town, there's dead spot. It's a completely, I do not know why. But once again, well, it's actually obvious. It's permits that needs to be allocated to those specific sites. But then this guy, the guy the people I was just talking about, mentioned to me something about someone renting an electric car. So what happened is the person who was renting this car, and how they've explained, he got upset because he was talking about a fast, and he was talking about a long charge. Now that is obviously this whole thing about 60 kilowatts and 150 kilowatts.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things to keep in mind here. There's so many things. First of all, was there someone on the charger to start off with? Could they have actually called the call center and get it sorted out that way? Number one. There's plenty of things that you can actually do. And then secondly, if that was the case, why did he actually rent or stayed over in a place where he couldn't charge?
Yes.
If you ever rent an electric car, do not rent because maybe you want to have a very good drive around Cape Town, and why do you why do you then stay at a place where you're not able to charge? Then you wouldn't even visit a public charging station. Then rather book your place, make it a place where you can charge. Now you ask, but Rufus, what will the owners, or what will the people say? Don't be silly and talk to the people and tell them that you're going to charge.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You're not damaging anything. You charge at a normal 3.5. That's a very safe. It's a 16 amp. That's how most sockets are at home. So it's not an issue. So all that you do is you plug it in as you would normally do. A normal plug, people. Let's just get this not anything special, or you're going to blow up the house or start a fire or anything, or start a fire in the battery. No, they do not. Your petrol car has probably got a better chance of getting on fire than your higher petrol car. So it's not an issue. It's really not an issue as long as you plan and you know.
I think it also becomes, you know, like a routine, you know, like for your charging time at night. It sort of becomes a routine. The same, you know, like with your phone. You know at what time your battery will be drained on your phone. So
Exactly.
it obviously becomes a routine to when you will start charging your car.
Exactly.
And it's not like, oh, it's gonna disturb my family dinner, or it's gonna disturb my meeting at home. It's because
I mean, I think with Durban it was that scenario. I need to discuss that situation there, because that was an interesting one where what happened is that that was an unplanned. If you're in an unplanned situation, and then anything goes, because then it becomes tricky, because on the way, whose fault is that really? Is it really the electric car, or is it actually the person driving?
Yes.
I think most of the time, the people that drive electric cars that do have issues, it's normally the people's problem. It's not the electric car. That's
Yes.
my because that was my issue. It all happened, and it was getting very late. Not because I was sitting and charging. It was actually there was a massive thing. It was even on the news. People were stuck for miles or then kilometers before Durban. I was not the only one. So I was arriving very late, and then I did manage to I went to a public charging station just to get to my guest house, because it was quite a lot of driving down with the delivery, because I was with 60 or 80 kilometers there in Durban, but I'd driven it out because it was quite an up and down story. But that's now an example. And I was a little bit, okay, I was like not necessarily suffering from range anxiety, but I basically needed to drive to the charger, and the charger was a bit far. So I was like, I wonder, will I make it? Because I was asking that question to myself. I did make it, and I was at a 60 kilowatt. I was not at 100 kilowatt, because the 100 kilowatts I actually missed 100 kilowatt, I think. So that was also, once again, it's all about planning. And then I did manage, and then I didn't realize when I was at my place, I realized, oh, I can actually charge here where I was staying. I didn't need to go to a public charging station. So that just shows you, if you know what you're doing, stay where you can charge.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. And it was all sorted. I was more than fine. But then that shows you that you don't always have to go to public charging station. Just stay at a place where you can charge, and you'll be fine. So it's guys, I think that's everything that we wanted to discuss about charging. I know it's not really it's not a thing that I really enjoy talking about, because it's so relevant.
It's so simple. It's a simple thing to do, and everybody keeps asking those questions, and especially to me and Rufus, like everybody like comes and asks us like, oh, what about load shedding? And you know, like all the things that we've mentioned in this video, like people have personally asked us.
Yes, all the time.
And so we have actually decided to do an educational video today to like tell you guys in detail about
the experiences.
About the experiences, and I think we've covered it all. And I think
and especially with you and me that went to Durban,
yes,
it was very well, and it went very well. And then also we could have skipped also 1 or 2 charges, just so that you know. People don't realize that you can actually continue on to, but just keep in mind, rather work with what it says, because it's best, because it also picks out the fastest charging stations.
Yes.
You know, but you can do all of that. You can program all of that if you really want to. And we were Durban was a situation where we were still busy eating and doing our thing, and then we were finished charging like half an hour ago.
Yeah.
You know, we could have gone off the charger actually if we wanted to, if it was, you know, that busy. But I don't know. I think people really needs to get on with it, and but electric is definitely the future.
Yeah.
And with you that's here in a complex, please, people, talk to your landlord, talk to your trustees, get it approved, see where you can pull the cable through. Even in a complex, go to your DD board. I promise you should have a 62 kilowatt circuit breaker. That means the house has got more than enough opportunity for even, I would say one, maybe one 3.4 kilowatt charging, and one, you can have 2 cars. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
You can have 2 charge cars, but I mean that's not ideal. If you can, most of the time people have a petrol car and an electric car, but in the near future the charges will be everywhere, and you can definitely come around with only one car.
Yes.
So thank you for watching today, and I know it was a very long video, but we wanted to, all this frustration, because it is very frustrating.
Yes.
This people
To hear these questions repeatedly, especially from people here in SA, you hear the questions repeatedly, and it's sort of starting to get a little bit annoying.
It is.
To like hear these questions, because use your general knowledge. It's all about general knowledge. Like
exactly.
Use your general knowledge.
Yes.
And you know,
in the United States, I mean, there's already I don't know, grid cars added pre-booking of electric chargers. If you're really concerned about Durban and Cape Town, you can pre-book. So I don't know if that has actually gone, if that was just because of, I think that they were having a very busy season. And look, it's also keep in mind, we are only sitting at 400 chargers.
yeah,
That's child's play compared to petrol stations. It's not fair. It's really not fair to put the blame on the car, but meanwhile the infrastructure is because of you. We all know why the permits is not getting released, but that's got nothing to do with the car. It's got to do with just bad infrastructure that people do not bother to get sorted out.
yes.
But overseas, everything is spot on.
Yes.
You know. So live with an electric car, go and experience it. Stay with most manufacturers here in South Africa, or brands is giving away for a week or so. Go and get yourself an electric car for a week and live with it. Experience the fast charging, experience the searching for charging stations, and then your home charging, and you will be fine. And no, you do not need to actually install a 32 amp box. You can actually get away with go and look at our channel that we speak about charging ports and portable charging stations.
And also you can go to your nearest dealership and you can like ask them to test drive an electric car, just to just to see if you want an electric car. But I would highly recommend someone to get an electric car, because not only it's environment friendly, it's also a really good product to buy, and in the future it will cost you, it will save you so much money compared to an petrol car.
And I think the drive, I think the drive is So relaxed.
It's smooth, and you know, it's so relaxing. Like every time when I drive with Rufus in the car, I feel so relaxed. I feel so at ease, and it's really really comfortable. Like everything about the car, the interior design, and you know, like even the silence. We just hear the road. Like it's so amazing.
No, it is. No, it is. Guys, we will see you in the next one, and thank you very much for watching.